I call the Honourable Member Raymond Ho. Ni hao ma.
Thank you, Ni hao, Mr. Speaker. It's a great pleasure to take a call on the third reading of this bill, which has been divided into five bills. It is relevant, necessary and timely for us to deliberate on those important issues. Over the past 4 years, 61 finance companies have failed, the latest of which was South Canterbury Finance, that was bailed out to the tune of $1.6 billion of taxpayers' money. Labour Finance spokesperson Honourable David Cunliffe has made some valid points on this. Bow English and the government turned down recapitalisation offers that would have limited taxpayer costs for South Canterbury Finance to around $500 million. Instead, the National insisted on throwing it into receivership. Losses have already reached $1.2 billion and are still climbing. The extra $700 million lost to the taxpayer is in fact roughly equivalent to all the new money junkie has just cut out of this year's budget. It has been noted that shortcomings in New Zealand's regulatory setup are partly responsible for those finance company failures. No single entity took responsibility for any problems. Therefore, Labour welcomes any measures that will ensure, like the UK Financial Services Authority, market confidence, public awareness, financial stability, consumer protection and reduction of financial crime. The Financial Markets Regulators and KiwiSavers Bill has 8 parts and was divided into several bills at the Committee of the Whole House stage. Parts 1 to 4 and Schedules 1 and 4 deal with the Financial Markets Authority. It has become Financial Markets Authority Bill. Part 5 amends the Securities Act 1978 and it has become Securities Amendment Bill. Part 6 and Schedule 5 is the Securities Markets Amendment Bill. Part 7 and Schedule 6 deal with the regulation of KiwiSaver and is the KiwiSaver Amendment Bill. Part 8 and Schedule 7 is the Financial Advisors Amendment Bill. It is crucial that we enhance confidence in our financial markets. A single market regulator should contribute towards this end. Labour launched the Capital Markets Development Task Force and are pleased the government is acting on its recommendations. We are concerned about a lack of transparency around current security commissions. We support the bills and specifically the establishment of the Financial Markets Authority. In principle, we supported the idea of consolidating all the different regulatory bodies into a single agency. In 2008, the Honourable Leon Dazelle set up the Capital Markets Development Task Force to develop a blueprint and action plan for the development of New Zealand's financial system. We are pleased the government is starting to act on the recommendations in the task force report, one of which was a single market regulator. The Labour-led government took a number of measures aimed at strengthening our financial markets, and this process was accelerated by the global financial crisis and as a spate of finance company collapses. The bills are designed to deal with some important issues. Firstly, concerning the securities law, the reform of securities law is a crucial complement to this process. This bill provides for regulations to be made that will prevent products being structured to avoid regulation. This happened in the case of the blueprint scenario because the investment scheme offered interests in land it was exempted from the Securities Act to the significant detriment of its investors. The only concern I have at this stage, however, is that the deadline for the review has been pushed back until 2012. Secondly, regarding the KiwiSaver, calls for changes to KiwiSaver regulation were made earlier this year when former Hulich KiwiSaver Managing Director Peter Hulich admitted he used his own money to top up investors' funds. 1.5 million Kiwis have a collective $6 billion in KiwiSaver. It is utterly critical that the regulation of its schemes is robust. The compulsory enrollment, even with an opt-out and the absence of the government guarantee, means that a higher level of assurance has to be offered to those investors who do not wish to choose their own scheme. We support moves to tighten KiwiSaver's regulation. This bill puts the onus on fund managers to act in the best interests of investors by making them primarily responsible for the accuracy of their prospectus, investment statements, and advertisements. Currently, KiwiSaver trustees are technically the issuer of KiwiSaver schemes under the Securities Act. This means managers have a few duties to investors and less liability for misleading statements than trustees. Thirdly, regarding the finance company collapses, back to what I said at the beginning of my contribution, this bill should ensure the FMA has broad oversight of the sector, ensuring that Kiwi investors don't face this kind of disaster again. As part of this reform of finance markets, the government might also wish to look at sentences of so-called white-collar criminals. Liam Dazelle and Charles Chauvel have recently said that people convicted of offences like burglary tend to be treated much more harshly than those who destroy huge amounts of wealth through reckless and dishonest business practices. Finally, I'm pleased to see that through the bills, the law is being changed to provide for a regime that supervises the supervisors. This bill removes the automatic right for the 6 previously statutorily approved trustees to supervise issuers of debt securities and some investment schemes, and it introduces a licensing regime for trustees that will be run firstly by the Securities Commission and then by the Financial Markets Authority when it is established. Under the new regime, all trustees, statutory supervisors, and unit trustees must be body corporates, and the directors and senior managers must be of good character. So I agree to what the minister responsible for this bill said, that New Zealand needs a single market regulator with a culture of visible, proactive, and timely enforcement. Recent finance company collapses illustrated gaps between regulators, and the Financial Markets Authority is needed to rebuild investors' confidence. And on KiwiSaver, the government says it has fast-tracked these measures due to apparent gaps in the regulation of some of the schemes. So it's all good initiatives, and I commend the bill to this House.
Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member Melissa Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to